Sad Matt Roloff sees small man. Carin divorces Matt. Carin marries her secret lover. Hello viewers. Welcome back to my channel. For Roloff family latest news update, please subscribe to the channel and press the bell icon. A lonely evening on the farm. The sun dipped low over the wide fields of Roloff farms, scattering orange light across the old barns, tractors, and the famous pumpkin patch. Matt Roloff sat alone on the porch of his farmhouse, his hands wrapped tightly around a chipped mug of coffee that had long since gone cold. His face was marked with years of both laughter and stress, but tonight his expression was heavy with sorrow. Carin, the woman he had once believed was his second chance at love after his divorce from Amy, had left him. Not just left, but divorced him swiftly, cleanly, and without much explanation. It wasn't like with Amy, where years of bickering had slowly pulled them apart. With Carin, it had happened suddenly, like a tree falling overnight after years of rot hidden beneath its bark. And what made it worse was what Matt saw a few nights earlier in town. He had gone into Hillsborough for groceries, trying to keep his head down, when he spotted Carin. She wasn't alone. She was walking with a tall, sharply dressed man, his arm firmly around her waist. Matt had paused, frozen, as if the ground had opened beneath him. Carin had laughed, really laughed, the kind of laugh she hadn't shared with him in months. She leaned into the stranger as though she had known him forever. Matt whispered to himself that night, "Who is this small man I've become, watching the woman I love move on so easily?" It wasn't that the other man was physically small, he wasn't. But Matt felt himself shrinking, diminished, less than the man he once was. The rumors begin. The Roloff farm had always been a place of family drama, but Carin's abrupt departure sparked something new. Rumors began to ripple through the small-town community. Friends whispered in grocery store aisles. Strangers exchanged glances at the cafe. "She left him for someone else, did you hear?" One woman muttered over her coffee. "They say she'd been seeing this guy for months," another replied. "And Matt didn't notice?" "He's been through this before with Amy." Matt hated the stares. Every time he went out, he could feel people's eyes on him, pitying him, maybe even mocking him. He tried to focus on the farm, throwing himself into maintenance projects. But the pumpkin patch felt empty, the barns lifeless, without Carin's energy beside him. And the worst part, he had no idea who the man was. Carin's secret lover revealed. It wasn't long before Matt got his answer. One afternoon, while he was working near the edge of the property, a car pulled up. To his surprise, Carin stepped out, dressed in a neat blouse, her hair perfectly styled. Beside her was the same man Matt had seen in Hillsborough. "Matt," Carin began, her voice calm but firm. "This is Richard. I need you to know the truth." Richard extended a hand politely, but Matt ignored it. His chest tightened as Carin continued. "Richard and we've been seeing each other for over a year now." The words hit Matt like a hammer. His grip on the fence rail tightened until his knuckles turned white. "You were with me," Matt said, his voice cracking. "You planned a future here. And all that time, you were with him?" Carin nodded, guilt flickering in her eyes. "I tried, Matt. I did. But you've been so focused on the farm, the business, the show. I needed more than that. Richard, he gave me that." Matt turned away, unable to meet their gaze. For the first time in years, he felt truly small, dwarfed not by his stature, but by his broken heart. The divorce papers. Weeks later, the official papers came. Carin filed for divorce quietly but decisively. There was no fight over property. Carin never wanted the farm, only freedom. Matt signed the papers with a heavy hand, each signature a cut deeper into his pride. The farm was silent afterward. Matt found himself wandering the empty halls at night, thinking of the laughter that once filled them. Even the animals seemed restless, as if sensing the loss. What hurt most wasn't just losing Carin, it was realizing she had chosen someone else. That she had loved someone else while still by his side. The wedding announcement. Months passed, and Matt tried to convince himself he was healing. He poured energy into the pumpkin season, even managed a few smiles for visiting families. But just as the leaves began to turn gold again, he got the news. Carin and Richard were engaged. The announcement spread fast, on social media, through local newspapers, whispered in church halls. Carin wasn't hiding anymore. She had moved on completely, boldly, publicly. When Matt saw the photos, Carin in a white dress, Richard beaming beside her, his heart cracked all over again. He couldn't help but think, that should have been me. The day of the wedding. The wedding was held at a vineyard just outside Portland. Matt wasn't invited, of course, but he couldn't resist driving past. He told himself he just wanted closure. He parked far from the entrance, watching from a distance as guests in suits and dresses laughed their way inside. And then he saw her, Carin, radiant, smiling like she hadn't in years. Richard stood tall beside her, slipping his hand into hers with ease. Matt's chest tightened. He wanted to shout, to demand answers, to remind her of the promises they once made. But instead, he sat in silence. A small man in a big truck, invisible among the vineyards. When the music swelled and the vows were exchanged, Matt whispered to himself, "She's really gone." A farm without Carin. After the wedding, Matt returned to the farm with a heavy heart. The fields stretched endlessly before him, but they felt empty. He tried to find purpose in the soil, in the tractors, in the traditions of harvest. But every corner of the farm reminded him of Carin, the way she used to organize pumpkin patch events, the way she encouraged him when projects became overwhelming. For the first time in decades, Matt considered selling the farm. Without Carin, without Amy, without the kids nearby, what was he holding on to? But something inside him refused. The farm was his legacy, his fight, his anchor. Even if he felt small and abandoned, he couldn't let go of the land that had defined him. Reflection. Late one night, Matt sat alone on the porch again, staring out at the rolling fields under the moonlight. He thought about his journey, marrying Amy, raising 4 kids, building the farm from nothing, losing love, finding it again, only to lose it once more. Tears pricked his eyes as he admitted the truth. Carin had moved on, and he needed to as well. He could not undo the past, but he could decide what came next. "I may be small," Matt whispered, "but I'm not broken. Not yet." The next chapter. Carin and Richard settled into their new life together, leaving Matt to face his own path. Though the sting of betrayal remained, Matt began focusing on his grandchildren, on writing a memoir about his life, and on slowly opening himself up to the possibility of new love. The pain would never fully fade, but as the seasons turned on Roloff farms, Matt realized something. Even when people leave, the land endures. And so would he.